National Prosecuting Authority head Shamila Batohi has completed her third year in office now, but there's growing frustration over the lack of high-profile prosecutions, particularly those linked to the state capture project. For more on this, in terms of how it affects the country's image, we're joined by Reputation Management Advisor Solly Moeng. Mr. Moeng, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, we know how big an issue this has been for many South Africans who question even, the usefulness of a process such as the State Capture Commission of Inquiry from a global perspective in terms of South Africa's own brand internationally. Why does it matter so much?
Well, hello, Kathy, and lovely to talk to you again. Look, predictability in terms of brands, including destination brands, is important. Because people want to know this country has got a great constitution that's been celebrated. There's something called the rule of law. We have democratic institutions. We've seen how those democratic institutions have been messed up because however great they are, however well-intended they are, we have placed wrong people in the positions to head those institutions, and it has messed up the level of predictability as a democratic state of South Africa. So people don't know what to expect from South Africa anymore. Now, when Batohi was appointed, there was a lot of excitement, especially because she came from the ICC. People are tired of corruption in South Africa, out of South Africa. We want to see and to position South Africa as a state where nobody stands above the law, where there are consequences for wrongdoing. But we've seen that even with Batohi in place, there is no such thing. So people are beginning to say, what's going on? What is she placed for there for? Is she one of the comrades? Is she a political diplomat in disguise? She has not delivered a single conviction, despite all the information that she could have used to at least bring one person into the court. She hasn't done so. So it's not good for South Africa. It's basically people are saying you've just become another African state, and we know what that means.
It's interesting to hear that perspective again from people who may be on the outside looking in. But what is the real damage of this, Solly? Because as South Africans, we know what the damage is for our own country, where there's lack of action, lack of accountability. But for those who are on the outside looking in, I mean, you talked about people who perhaps are looking at South Africa as, as a destination of choice, really, so through the lens of tourism. How does whether or not, you have high-profile politicians being arrested affect my decision to go and enjoy the views in Cape Town or in Durban?
Well, let me tell you this. I live in Switzerland. I'm here on a short visit in South Africa, all right? And I'm struggling to get people to come to South Africa. They say, no, your country is violent. And it's very hard. It's harder and harder to sell it. Yesterday, I was robbed of a bicycle with gunpoint and knife point. So it's hard now for me. It's going to be even harder when I return to Switzerland and say, oh, no, it was great. Come back to South Africa, because I cannot lie about it. People want to know that they can make long-term decisions about their destination. Of course, just like anywhere in the world, there are people who will come anyway, but there are many people we would like to see coming who will not come. But importantly, Kathy, and to your question, is that we have in South Africa, around the world, bigger and bigger numbers of South Africans in the diaspora. We want, ideally, these people to be the best ambassadors of South Africa. But if they see their country going the way it's going, they're going to be the first ones to discourage people from coming to South Africa, discourage people from investing in South Africa. They're not going to be the first ones to say, yes, you must do business with South Africa. Mm-hmm. And I've seen this before. I used to be marketing manager for South African tourism in Canada. The first people to stand up in a room that I was addressing about South Africa were former South Africans who would say, no, this guy's lying to you. He's paid he works for the government of that country to lie to you. We don't want that. We want South Africans across the diaspora to be almost like Jewish people around the world who support Israel. But they can't support this country if this country continues to be without consequence for criminals in politics who get deployed over and over again. The president is useless. I'm sorry. He has no strong will to say, you serve at the pleasure of me as the president. We cannot afford to have somebody like you in my cabinet. He's never done that.
Solly, I'm so sorry to hear about the experience that you had yesterday, and I certainly hope that you're doing well. It can be quite traumatic, but just going back to what you have raised, how do you think that this perception begins to change? Is it something that only government can change?
Well, all of us must change it. I mean, look, all of us must change. South Africans, but the thing is, all brands, Kathy, are led. If we do not have a president who sets the tone from the front, because we don't, then everybody does their own thing. We need to have a president who says to business, to society, to people employed in government, this is the country we need to position around the world. This is who we are as a country. But he's either not able to do that, or he doesn't seem to understand the need to do that. So whatever he says, it's like, yeah. Even in South Africans, if you own people, suppose South Africa were a business, right? If whenever the CEO stands up to speak, people say, yeah, that's what he says. That's not true. That's not how we are treated. How do you expect other people to believe the message coming from them? Because South Africans in the diaspora, those people are important. They're really important for South Africa standing. They're important at rallying people to come here, investing here. If they do not believe the message is coming from the government, because they see there are no consequences for criminals, the NPA is doing nothing, they are not going to stand up for us. We need as many supporters as possible. The president needs to be aware of that. But it's been 3 or 4 years since he's been in power himself, just like Batohi, and he has not delivered. I do not see him changing ahead of the next elections, unfortunately.
So what do you want Ms. Batohi to know?
Ms. Batohi must know that she can make all the speeches she wants. Actually, these days she speaks like a politician, which is very, very painful, really. She needs to know that South Africans are expecting consequences. South Africans want to know that this country can still be a country where nobody stands above the law. Those people who are still walking the corridors of Luthuli House and Parliament as if they've done nothing to hurt this country must see something happening. They must be called. They must have those big knocks at their doors. But it's not happening. Batohi, we rely on Batohi to say, guys, I can assure you that we still have a laws-driven democracy. Until she acts, we're not going to believe that.
That was Reputation Management Advisor Solly Moeng, and thank you for your time.